I'm going to show you how to make your own Chatty Monster Hand Puppet. You will need a cereal box, one full sheet of construction paper, some scrap colored paper, a pair of scissors, a pencil, a couple markers, a glue stick, and tape. I used clear tape, but you could use any kind you have around. The first step is to cut open your cereal box. So, starting at the open edge, take your scissors and cut along the folded corner edge of your box all the way to the bottom, across, and back up to the top. And this is the piece you will need to use for your puppet. Then, using our pencil, we're going to draw a long rectangle for our puppet head. I made mine about an inch wider than my hand on either side. Draw your line going all the way to the top of the cereal box, no matter how wide you make it, and then across the top. And go ahead and cut it out. And if you haven't already, trim off the top of the box flap. Now I'm going to take my rectangle and fold the short ends together and make a really good crease. Next, I'm going to fold my short end to that creased edge and crease it again. If that's hard to do with your fingers, you could use the handle of the scissors to help you. Flip it over and fold that short edge to that center crease again and make a good crease. Now I have the start of my puppet. It's already feeling a little chatty. Now I want to change the shape of the top of my puppet head, so I'm going to draw two curved lines at each of the top two corners of my puppet head, and then cut those out. And then I'm going to open my puppet mouth all the way up. Get my full sheet of construction paper ready and my glue stick, and I'm going to cover the entire puppet with glue. Make sure you get all of the edges, the insides, all around, and have a scrap piece of paper under you so you don't get your table messy. Then I'm going to flip that puppet right onto my big piece of construction paper. I'm going to try to get those long edges to match up. And now I want to press with a lot of pressure to connect the gluey puppet to the construction paper. Rub it all over. And then I'm going to trim off the extra construction paper just by tracing the edge of my cardboard puppet with my scissors. And I'm going to hold on to that extra piece because I will need to use it later for extra puppet parts. Now I'm going to refold my puppet. Those creases should already be there to show me where to fold. So I'm going to fold just again, and if any glue has come undone, press it down. And you could add more glue if needed. Now, using that scrap colored paper, I'm going to add some features to my puppet. I'm going to start with teeth by cutting out a rectangle and folding it in half lengthwise to make a little shelf. One side will get glued onto the puppet mouth on the inside, and the other side will hang off and be the teeth. So I'm going to cut some teeth shapes. I did mine freehand, but you could draw yours on if that's easier. And I'm going to go ahead and glue them in place, and I want them to be right on the edge of that crease with a slight overbite so that I make sure my monster teeth can go over the edge of the bottom of the mouth. Next up, I'm going to cut some paper for the inside of the mouth, and I can roughly measure the size that needs to be by holding it up next to or on top of the puppet and kind of tracing a line to match the shape. It's okay if it's a little bit smaller, and if it's too big, you can always trim it down. And once I see it fits in place, I can glue it down, making sure I get glue all along every edge. Now I can test it out again, make sure my teeth go over the bottom of the mouth and that it will open and close, add any more glue or press down any loose pieces. Next, I'm going to draw a tongue and cut that out. I made it a little too long, so I'm going to give it a trim and glue it in place, and I could decorate it if I want. Next up, I'll make my eyes. So I'm going to start with a larger rectangle and fold it into a smaller rectangle. And now if I have a folded piece, if I cut out one shape, then I should end up with two equal shapes. And glue them where you'd like them. I made two big round eyes, but your eyes could be any shape you like, and you could have more than two, or even one. Now I'll let him rest while I get the scrap of the large piece of construction paper that we used in the beginning, and I'm going to cut a thin strip down the length and cut that in half. And I'm going to do that once more. One long strip, cut in half. And this is going to give me 2 arms and 2 legs. And now I'm going to take each piece and fold it accordion style, so like a fan. I'm going to fold it one way and then the other, and then back again, back and forth, until I have a little accordion folded piece of paper. It gives it a little bit of a spring and movement. I'm going to repeat that step for each of the other arms and legs. And we'll leave them there for a minute and move on to cut out some ears. So 2 little rectangles curved at the top, make 2 little ears. I'm going to go ahead and glue them on the back of my puppet head. And those big white eyes are creeping me out a little bit, so I'm going to take a minute to use a marker and add a pupil into each eye so that it can see. Ah, that's better. Now I can glue on my arms and my legs. Now, if I think my monster is still not done, I could create a nose, maybe by cutting an oval shape. And I could even give it little horns by folding a piece of paper over and cutting out 2 triangle shapes and gluing those in place. And our puppet is almost complete. I'm going to flip it over, and using that extra piece of cardboard from the food box, I'm going to cut 2 strips. Each strip needs to be a bit larger than the width of your hand. And I'm going to fold a small tab on each side of each of these strips. And these are going to become sort of handles to hold my puppet in place on my hand. So fold a tab on each side and give it a little bend. And grabbing my tape, I'm going to rip off 2 pieces, place one across, overlapping each of those tabs, and I'm going to bend it just a little bit as I tape it down in place on the inside of the top monster jaw. It's got to be big enough so that I can slide at least a few of my fingers underneath, like a little bridge. And I'm going to repeat the same thing on the bottom. So I'm going to take some more tape And I'm going to stick that second little bridge on the bottom of the puppet mouth. And once those are in place, I can put my top fingers in the top bridge and my thumb in the bottom and get a better grip to open and close my puppet's mouth. Now it's ready. I can give it a voice, I can give it a personality, and I can perform. Looks like I might have to teach them my language.